now. We have Ollie from Canada.
Oh,
Hello, Ollie.
Hey.
Ollie's subject here, it
Hi.
says he's an apostatizing theist, barely, in parentheses, would like to know how you, I guess means us, reconciled your theism with your lack of belief.
Yes.
Can you reiterate that and kind of... Yeah, go ahead and reiterate that and explain it to us. But welcome, Ollie.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, hello, Forrest, Eric. I've actually been watching you guys for quite some time. And by quite some time, I mean just a couple of months, really. But your show's actually given me a lot to think about, though, to be quite frank, you know what? I'm actually not going to ramble because I don't want to waste too much of your time. There's going to be a lot of other callers. I did not expect to be here this early. But, yeah. So I'll just get right into it. Though I do have to ask before, this might get just a tad dark. I do hope that's not a problem for you guys. I might get it. Well, in that case, well, see, actually, I actually called in specifically for the whole Forrest attitude as well, because I've been trying to figure out which show to call in to actually talk about this, and mainly, so as you saw, the subject is that I am indeed apostatizing. I wouldn't really call myself a theist anymore, really, but the thing is, it has led to a lot of different issues. I would actually call myself more of an angry atheist right now. I think I'm in the angry atheist phase right now. Would you guys mind if it's just a very strange phase. Would you guys mind if I gave it just a bit of a backstory? Would you rather I just skip that and we just get right into the question? I'll be quite...
If you can condense it down to like 90 seconds, like I love the angry atheist phase, and because I went through that. I'm sure a lot of other folks went through that. So if you can do it in like 90 seconds, that'd be great.
I absolutely can. Well, effectively, so I've been raised in a Christian family, Catholic actually, well, it's something I've just been questioning my entire life is that I could never really reconcile what was in the Bible, specifically Genesis, with. See, I love science, specifically biology and astrophysics, and those two don't really, work with the Bible. And so I've asked questions around to my mother, my grandmother, all things, and really just got into very heated arguments with them. And the thing is, I'm now 28, and I am now in that phase where I'm effectively back to having those arguments with them with a much more, I want to say rational mind. And let's just say it's extremely abrasive. That's about the gist of it. For the most part, it's effectively because it's led to, like I said, a lot of questions. For one, I don't really adhere to anything the Bible really says. I'm not going to go into too much detail again, but really the biggest issue here is that I'm now at a stage where I constantly have to tell myself that I do not believe anymore because, like I said, there's just no evidence for me. But at the same time, the way I've been raised and with everyone around me believing, I have this conflict where, part of me is wondering if I am wrong, I am going to suffer for this. And that's what pisses me off, pardon my language there, but that is what's absolutely killing me in this because, everyone loves to tell you that, yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing with that is, as I said, it's going to get a bit dark. I've actually been suicidal since I've been 13. And the one thing that was keeping me from doing that was that fear of God. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be doing that, but my point is I'm no longer afraid of that. But then at the same time, I don't really hate myself the same way because I know that, I'm in control of my own life. And that's effectively, so it's now, so there's now that side of me with the other side that just effectively, if I am wrong about this, and it's just causing a lot of issues in my own personal family as well. Like my family's already shattered, but
it sounds like you're dealing with a really toxic mixture of Pascal's wager and maybe a few issues of psychology and maybe a few issues of philosophy all blending together to make you just feel really uniquely and weirdly shitty at this moment. Is that kind of what I'm getting?
Correct. And my family isn't really helping because since I, came out, I guess you could say, as an atheist, my life has actually been much better. And the biggest argument, like the three arguments that I've heard, like my family and like certain people tell me, the first one being that, well, you didn't believe enough, so God was keeping you in that stage.
Right.
And now that you don't believe anymore, he's like, well, I'm just going to throw you a bone for you to understand that you should come back to me. That was the first one. I absolutely hated that.
So the big thing is, I would just encourage you to remember, number one, first and foremost, the most important thing, which I know this isn't your point, but it is the point in all of this, is that if you are actually, I don't know what they have in Canada, but here in the United States, we have the number 988 that we can call as a national suicide prevention hotline. I encourage you to find whatever you have up there in Canada. It's probably better than what we have here in the US, and have that on your phone, have that ready to go just in case. Because I'm not saying you and I'm not saying you will. And I'm just saying you need to have that ready because you are better here. The world is better with you here. So that's most important, number one. I'm sure you're about to say, I assure you I figured that out. And that's great. I really appreciate you telling me that you... Sorry, well, go ahead.
Sorry, I really didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just, no, it's really not much better. Trust me, I've called them quite a few times. They did manage to save my life once, but that's because they didn't answer. And I figured, if they don't care, then who the fuck will? And that was a really shitty time. But that's neither here nor there.
Call again. And like I hear you. I'm not trying to rile you up or get anything out of you at this moment. I want to remind you, because I feel like it's really important that we don't just breeze past that. I just want to remind you that I want you here. Our members, all the viewers on this channel want you here. Like the world is better with you here. And so I want you to stick around. So I don't care if you end up disagreeing with me. I want you here. The second thing, and so I'll allow me to be a selfish asshole and tell you to fucking do this for me. But there's that. And then the second thing is, I feel like combining that with this Pascal's wager situation, it's important to remember that I feel like there's some bleed over here. Pascal's wager sucks for a lot of reasons, not the least of which being that you can apply it to literally any other god forever, and it means exactly the same nothing. Also, if there is this great, all-important, all-powerful god, and you're just believing out of potential necessity, you really think that this god that knows you and your mind and your heart is going to allow you to pull the wool over its eyes? Also, this god that, as you're talking about, you don't believe enough, and so it's going to fuck with you. What an asshole. So, there's a lot there. And I think if you're already in this angry atheist phase, I don't think there's anything wrong with drawing a little bit of righteous indignation here to say, hey, I am fucking hurting. I am suffering. I'm scared about suffering in the afterlife. But the fact of the matter is, I am already suffering here in this life. I'm dealing with so much pain and anxiety and stress that is causing repeated suicidal ideation. If this God is in control, it's not something I want to be aligned with. Instead, I'm going to go align myself with a psychotherapist who can make sure that I get the help that I deserve. That's what I would do. But that's just me.
Sorry. Were you going to continue? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
That's just the immediate vibes off the very front half of this call.
Yeah.
Well, and I very much appreciate all of that. And yes, sorry, Eric, please, by all means. Sorry.
No worries. I didn't want to interrupt you there. And yeah, I'm in alignment with Forrest on basically everything he said there. Because I deconverted about the same time you did. I deconverted when I was like 26-ish, 27-ish. It was a kind of a long, drawn out 1 year process. But I went through my phases of being very confused because I had a religion that was basically shoved down my throat ever since I was born. Things weren't lining up. I wasn't getting the results I was promised. I was seeing things like hypocrisy in the congregation, and I was seeing other just things didn't feel right. And because I was raised, you said you were raised as a Catholic, and that has this whole host of problems along with it. And I really feel for you. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So, we had no higher education, no critical thinking, no logic, no philosophy, no psychiatry or counseling. My toolbox to deal with what I was going through was basically empty. And that put me in a position of being very confused, being angry at times. The only tool I had pretty much was just emotion and intuition. Like, this doesn't feel right. But I couldn't go like, okay, I'm going to go logically analyze this, or I'm going to go talk about, look, like do testing and think about falsification and how to confirm things and how to remove my biases. Like none of that was in my head. And it was a process. I had to feel through it. And you can even argue that I became an atheist for bad reasons. I didn't have logic and reason and all that on my side because, like I said, my toolbox was empty. How do you work with what you have never given in your entire life? And then after that, I kept on going. After I deconverted and I was calling myself an atheist, then I kept on going. I started learning things about, I went back to university. I took logic classes, philosophy, all the stuff I mentioned. And then I built up a tool set that I can then look back on my path and go, okay, have I gone wrong anywhere? Do I need to reevaluate anything? And after 15 years now, I'm now 43. I feel like I'm in a very good position, very justified. I'm very content. I'm very secure in my belief or my non-belief. I'm not angry anymore. I have a passion talking about it. I think is really interesting. But I look back where I was and how I started and where I am now, and I'm in a much better position now. And if you keep on doing what you're doing, I think you'll eventually hit that as well. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to go through phases of uncertainty. This is not like a performance that you got to be perfect at throughout. Make your mistakes, feel your feelings, but keep on moving forward a little bit every day. Do a little bit of study, a little bit of reading, a little bit of self-reflection, rinse and repeat, talk to people. And don't worry about where you're at now or how you're feeling now. Just know that eventually it'll smooth itself out and you'll be in an even better place in the future. So that's kind of my first point. And then my second point, I don't want to like overwhelm you with it, but your conversations with your parents, that can be very, from their point of view, it can be very shocking that, they think they, quote unquote, raised you right. And then you go ahead and, quote unquote, rebel against them and against God. And now they're probably in a very confused state about it. And I don't know what the dynamic is between your parents or anything like that. But one thing that I did when I left, I was like, so wanted to talk about it. That was easy to go into other conversations, not quite appreciating what other people would feel me going to them. Because I feel like, oh, I have logic and reason and I'm right. Like I got to go tell other people. And from their point of view, that's not quite how they're seeing it. They're seeing it as, okay, they think something's wrong. So when it comes to conversation with parents or with friends or anybody who are currently believers, just try to keep that in mind. It's good to talk to them about it. It's good to, trade ideas and such. But if it feels like, and like I said, I don't know your relationship with your parents or anything like that, but if your relationship with your parents is something you value, relationship with your religious friends is something you value, be careful with those conversations at first until you're more established in where you're at. I'm kind of more, less angry, more calm, because that would help you, have better conversations, but also maintain relationships you want to maintain. That's kind of my second piece of advice there. But anyway, go ahead and give us your reflections on that. And
okay. Well, for starters, to answer your question, my relationship with, so I love my mother to death. I absolutely despise my father. So that's quite literally just two sides of, no. And I actually also have an older sister who's just very much into religion as well. And I actually had to ask her just before we had that conversation if she would still love me if I told her I was an atheist, because through the studies that I guess I can't really call them studies, but we'll go with studies just for the sake of argument here. Like the studies that I've done about the Bible and the different, granted, just videos here and there, but like I did read a few things here and there. I ended up realizing that I absolutely just despised the book that was just by the side of my bed for the longest time. In the same conversations, I ended up learning that both my mother and my sister do not believe in evolution. And I was like, well, that's not really a matter of belief so much as it's, there's evidence. You can't really, neither here nor there. But specifically with my mother, the reason I really wanted to, again, get into this call with you guys is because, the subject, what does believing in God get us? And again, my mother, like I said, despite being, who she is in terms of religion, she's also a woman who's gone through quite a bit because of my father. I'm, again, not going to go, big. But, sorry, are you having trouble hearing me? I think someone just said in chat that they're having a bit of trouble hearing me. Can you guys hear me
fine?
Fine?
I hear you fine.
Just making sure.
My advice is just ignore the chat.
Understood. My apologies. What was I? But yeah, no, and she's been through a lot, and it's actually, her belief in God that kept her going and kept kept her motivated, and she's actually, doing much better now. She's building a business with her friend. It's going rather well, and it's thanks to that belief. On the other hand, as I said, I've been going through what I've been going through in my life, and I had this crippling fear because of my belief. And now that belief is gone, I feel like there's nothing really holding me back. But at the same time, I don't want to do it anymore because it doesn't feel like someone's just puppeteering my life and just, deciding. Because my biggest issue was, am I really that bad a person that you're keeping me in this state, both mentally and physically, around, socially, just where I am, because I must have done something. And it made me really absolutely despise this quote unquote God that, just had control over my life. And now that he's gone, I don't have that looming cloud over me. So whilst there's nothing holding me back from doing that, there's also, nothing really pushing me towards that anymore. But I also feel like I somewhat lost something, which was that hope that things would, quote unquote, not quote unquote, I need to stop saying that. Sorry, I'm very, very nervous right now. I think you can tell.
You're fine. You're fine, man. Keep going.
But I appreciate it.
If you're nervous talking to us, we're doing something wrong.
No, actually, see, I'm definitely calming down. Don't worry. And the call screener very much helped as well. I would really like to thank her as well, or them actually, since I don't know their preferred pronouns. But as I was saying, what was I saying? I was speaking.
You're talking about coming down from your emotional state before you deconverted to now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. And so, since I don't, and I used to pray, and I was hoping that things would get better. And as I said, since I became an atheist, things have gotten better, and people have given me all sorts of excuses. The main one being, he wants you to come back to him. That's why he's throwing you a bone. Which, fuck no, pardon my language. No. Just no. And at the same time, I feel like I lost that extra hope, that purpose. So my mother always thought that I was going to be eventually a pastor and maybe a minister. She's been connecting me to pastors here and there. It's a long story, and she insists that I go to church, whilst I just never liked going to church. And so, yeah, I guess what does believing in God really get us is I honestly really don't, because on one side I definitely did lose something. I did lose that extra hope that I had, but looking back, it really wasn't doing anything at all. And on top of it, got better without that, which to me is even more, well, not really evidence of the personal, experience, but I guess I'll just call it evidence for me, but it's more evidence that there's really just no reason to sit down and pray to some weird entity in the sky when I can just get up and do things. That's quite literally it. And tomorrow I'm going to be going to a new job, and at the same time I've had several new offers, and my life is just getting so much better. And it's just this whole he wants you to come back to him. And the thing is, they just hammer that into your head, and you start believing that. Well, not really believing, but you start to really ask yourself, am I doing something wrong? And at the same time, I don't want my mother to keep believing in a God that I personally consider to be completely evil right now. But at the same time, I see where it got her. And now I just have to, I like I said, I never want her to just stop believing, because I know it's going to take something away from her. And I'm terrified of doing that to her. Mm-hmm.
I've used this analogy before, or this metaphor before. That's an analogy. So you're fresh out of your theism. Emotions are still high. You're still sorting out a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. You should give yourself ample time to sort through that. Whether it takes a few months or a few years, I can't tell you. It's up to you. But whenever you get on an airplane, like those the pamphlets on the airplane to talk about what happens during an emergency. Do you ever look at those?
I always do.
Okay, yeah, I do too, because I'm bored. But when the plane depressurizes and the masks fall from the ceiling, let's say you're traveling with a child, what does the pamphlet tell you to do? What's the order that you?
Mask over your... Sorry. You have to put the mask over yourself first before trying to help someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So. Because if you're spiraling, you're in a bad state, you're not going to be able to help others. And it is your goal. And in a few months, you might feel different, because, you might be like, okay, I don't want this to jeopardize my relationship with my mom or things like that. And that's up to you whether to decide that or not. But at this point, those masks have just fallen from the ceiling. Wow. Where'd that come from? But anyway, what I'm saying is basically like, do take your time and help yourself first. Don't focus on what other people think. It's fine to have an occasional conversation, but don't force the matter. I say, focus on yourself first. Get yourself stabilized first and on your feet first. And then at that point, you can go, okay, what do I want to do? Do I really want to talk with my parents and family about this? Do I want to, perhaps say, hey, you have a more live and let live mentality. I don't want to try to, quote unquote, save them. Because your perspective in a few months might be very different than you are now. And if you're in an emotional state now, then you may be making choices now that you might later on regret. But anyway, just like that, like it's on the mask on the airplane, handle yourself first. There's plenty of time. You're 28. You're young. You got so much time ahead of you. Take your time. Be easy on yourself, and take it one step at a time. Don't worry about what to do on step 10 when you're still on step 2.
Yeah.
That's actually my problem. But I actually do appreciate that. That really did help, surprisingly. I mean, you would think that would be obvious, but I guess it's just you know, like when you're in, you really can't tell how big the lake is when you're drowning in it, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of just
exactly. And usually the largest source of pressure in these types of things is coming from ourselves. Like the pressure is self-generated. Because like I said, your brain's going a mile a minute sometimes, probably because you're processing so many new things. I mean, I did the same exact thing. I went from being very secure in that I was doing God's will. I was going to live forever on a paradise earth. I was going to see dead loved ones again. I was very secure in all that. And when it all came crashing down, it was like, what is going on? My worldview got shattered. And it threw me into a tizzy, and it took me months, if not years, to kind of like really sort out and become really comfortable with. So yeah, just give yourself time, and you'll be fine. You sound like you're already on a good path, and you're thinking for yourself, and you're exercising self-awareness, and I think you're doing fine. Yeah, just take your time, keep going.
That was actually the second point. You actually just managed to touch on that without me really mentioning it. But it was the loved ones part. If you don't mind me getting into that real quick before leaving, because I really don't want to take the line too long.
No worries.
But
go ahead.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I had an uncle who unfortunately passed away when I was 8. He and I used to be. He was the father that my father just wasn't, and I really missed him. I still to some degree cry about. Sorry, I really do apologize if I do tear up a tad. It's just, I know it's pathetic.
You're fine.
But it is what it is. And I really.
No, I said you're fine. Don't worry about anything. Feel free to just tell us.
Having emotion. That's okay to have emotions. Yes,
it's okay. Yeah.
Tell that to my father. He, like I said, he was the father that I just that my father just wasn't in that sense, like emotionally, and he died way too soon. But I still remember him like it was yesterday. And the thing is, ever since he passed, I just thought to myself, he's up there. He's he's looking at me and saying, "Hey, buddy, you got this. You'll be fine." And ever since I stopped believing, that's just not there anymore. So the idea that I'm gonna see him again, or the idea that I'm just never gonna see him again, and it's just he's not there, and he's just not there anymore. Like that, reconciling that with it's just a lot to process, like on the spot. And I guess I really just wanted to talk to you guys about that, because like I said, I've heard a lot of like Forrest, the backstory as well, like both of yours, specifically Forrest as well. I've actually identified with a decent amount of that as well. And you're always smiling and you say you never had a bad day, and I don't know, I kind of want to be like that. I try to be like that around people, but there's just like a lot that's not there anymore, and I'm kind of just trying to keep myself afloat. It's just a lot. So I guess I'm just rambling. I guess I called to ramble, but that was the faculty just.
Yeah. Like I said, it's absolutely okay to feel that. Sorry, Forrest, I'll say this really quick. It's absolutely okay to feel that because Ollie, religion gave you that false hope, and now you realize it's false, and it will leave you in a position where you're like, wow, not only I feel embarrassed because I was just duped into something, But now the hope that it offered me is now gone. And it's okay to, like I said, to take your time in processing that. For me, a big part of deconverting was not no longer thinking that God was behind all the beauty and wonders that I see in the universe. Because I'm huge into nature. I'm huge into like astronomy and the cosmos and such. And I thought this was all just like hand painted by God and given to us as a gift. And I still remember my first sunset that I looked at, and I realized to myself, I was like, wow, there's nothing behind this. And that's incorrect. There's no God behind it. But as I learned through science and education, there's actually a wondrous natural process behind it. The way the universe formed and became what it is today, and how we're here, it's amazing to me. And I filled that void with truth. And you got a void in you right now. And it's going to take time for you to figure out what to fill it with. And it's okay to feel those feelings. It's okay to feel that emptiness. It's okay to all that. Just give it time. I know that's kind of the theme of my stuff with you tonight, is just give it time. But go ahead, Forrest. What were you going to say?
I was going to say something pretty similar. Like, if you can imagine, like, if you spend your whole life walking on all fours, you know what I mean? If you were just, taught your whole life that that's how you do, and then one day you are taught to stand upright, how quickly do you expect to be able to accomplish that task and do it well? If you, had nerve damage or something, and you have to now learn again how to use a limb, how to use an appendage, how to walk, how quickly do you expect to do that? You said you're in your 20s. This whole time, you have been given this one coping mechanism, this one strategy, this one way of thinking. And now, very suddenly, you are trying to force yourself to do something entirely different and arguably significantly more complex. And you're expecting yourself to do what took you 20-something years to learn how to do today. That you've been learning the wrong thing. You've been learning this other method for 20-something years, and now today you are expecting yourself to just process this shit and just work with it. And like, that wouldn't be appropriate in any other circumstance. Imagine, you're talking about grief over your father. You're talking about grief over your own self, about your own life, about what's going to happen to you when you die, right? You would never expect a grieving process to be something that you just power through, or something that you just deal with, or something that you just get over, or something that you just have under control from one day to the next. My dad died 13 years ago. I still grieve him from time to time. I still have those moments. My grandma died sometime. I don't remember exactly how many years ago, but I liked her a lot. But I don't remember the exact time because it wasn't as clean of a date as my dad died right before I met my wife, so I'm able to remember that because it's all right. But like, my grandma died a half a decade or so ago, and I liked her a lot, and I still grieve her from time to time. And like, I'm a very practical, very rational person. These deaths were not surprises. They came really slow and arduous and dragged out, and I was intimately connected to every single step of those deaths. And so it was not a shock. And I was fully accepting of it before it happened, and when it happened, and after it happened, and it still fucking hurts. And I did all of that as an atheist, knowing that I was never going to see them again the entire time, and it still fucking hurts. So you are coming from this position where you now have this compounding interest on top of this, of you've been waiting so long to see this person in some theme park someday, and now you're losing that too. It's like you're losing your dad again. It's like a second death. You need to give yourself time to process that, and time to grieve that, and time to deal with that, and then come to terms with everybody else, come to terms with yourself, come to terms with every other implication of this. Do not pile all that on yourself at once. You're going to have a fucking panic attack. Go step by step with it. Give yourself time to deal with it. It comes in waves, and it goes out, and it comes in, and it goes out, and you just fucking deal. And if you need help, reach out to places like Recovering from Religion. Call us, you're on the line. Talk to friends, talk to loved ones, find support groups. There's a million different options. By the way, I found out during this call 988 works in Canada too. You probably already know that, but I'm saying that for the people listening. But like, don't be afraid to ask for help, because fuck, man, life is hard enough as it is, not counting all the baggage you're carrying. You gotta have somebody to help you with that. So I feel just tremendous amount of sympathy for everything you're telling me. And I gotta tell you, you say you identify a lot with my story. I identify a lot with what you're saying now too. When you're saying that you have this expectation of yourself to be able to just cope. And you know, as Eric was saying, put your own oxygen mask first, and you're saying that's really hard to remember. It is fucking hard to remember. Trust me, if you get good at remembering it, call back and tell me how, because I have a problem with that too. It's the most difficult thing in the world for me to every time I take an hour of time for myself for something that I enjoy, I feel awful, and I have to remind myself that it is okay and that the world is going to keep turning without me, because I'm like, oh, I should be doing this. This is an activist thing that I could be, you know what I mean? So just give yourself the same grace and the same patience and the same time to grieve that you would expect yourself to give somebody else in this position. Because you, like Eric said, you're doing fine. You don't think you are, but you are. And you've got a long way to go, but you don't have to go that way alone. You never have, and you never will. And once you're okay with you, and once you come to terms with yourself, and once you're okay living on your own, then you can start figuring out what everybody else is all about. And then at that moment, you will realize that all those horrible things, all those hard times, the times where you were, down on the ground, the times when you were being kicked while you were already hurt, the times when you thought about checking out, all of those horrible times made you who you are today. And hopefully, if you were paying attention, they made you a more caring and empathetic person so that you can go out and help other people. I find the most painful parts of our lives, the most scary parts of our lives, are the things that teach us how best to help others. And then when you understand that, if you understand that, not saying you have to adopt this philosophy, but if you come to that same ideology, then maybe you will start to say also that you've never had a bad day. That's why I do it.
Oh, I very much do hope. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get to that. Don't say hope, just try your best, right? I very much appreciate you guys talking to me about this. I really thought I was going to be wasting your time, to be honest with you, but that's just, I think that's
not at all. Not at all.
You're good, Ollie. It was a great conversation, and I wish you the best of luck. Feel free to call in again. And there's also other resources you can take advantage of. You can join our Discord server. There's numerous online atheist communities that can help you with those types of things. You can find secular therapy. There's the recovering from religion.org. They offer helplines. You can talk to folks who are far better, more trained than us, because my training is exactly zero. They have much better resources, and they'll probably have much better things to tell you and ways to guide you through it. Like, you have a lot of resources available to you. Feel free to email us if you want like a list, but yeah, you're doing fine, and keep going, be gentle with yourself and take your time.
I absolutely will try. Once again, thank you very much. And honestly, you guys have a great time and have a great show. I'm likely going to be continuing to watch as well. So,
awesome.
But thank you.
So sorry to hear that.
That really did help.
All right, Ollie. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ollie. Take care.
Thank you much. You guys have a fantastic one. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, what's up? I'm glad you enjoyed that clip of people talking to each other. I'm Jimmy, and this is Eric. And we'd really love it if you would support us. Where can they support us, Eric? Where would they do that?
I don't know, Jimmy, because I don't have the notes on me right now.
This is too long. The outros have to be short. Patreon.com/call the line.